Welcome to our channel, where we guide you through the world of global trade. In this video, we will delve into the fascinating topic of Incoterms, the cornerstone of international commercial contracts. When global companies enter into contracts to buy and sell goods, they are free to negotiate specific terms such as price, quantity, and product characteristics. Every international contract may also contain what is referred to as an Incoterm, or international commercial term. Incoterms, which stands for International Commercial Terms, are a series of predefined terms published by the International Chamber of Commerce. Although they are considered to be commercial terms, they can be informally thought of as delivery terms. This is because they assign obligations, costs, and risks to the seller or buyer regarding delivery. The latest edition of the Incoterms is the Incoterms 2020, which became effective on January 1st, 2020. There are 11 Incoterms in total. For the purpose of this video, we will categorize them according to the acceptable mode of transport. That is, Incoterms for any mode of transportation, and Incoterms for sea and inland waterway transport. Let's take a closer look at the Incoterms and at how they can be used to clearly allocate responsibilities to the buyer and the seller. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and join us as we learn more about Incoterms. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all our latest videos and insights in the world of global trade. Let's get started. The first category, Incoterms for any mode of transportation, includes the following terms. EXW, or ex-works. This term means that the seller's obligation is limited to making the goods available at the seller's premises. The buyer bears all costs and risks involved in transporting the goods from there to the final destination. FCA, free carrier. This term requires the seller to deliver the goods to a carrier or another party designated by the buyer, loaded onto a collecting vehicle at the seller's premises, or delivered to another named place, typically a carrier's warehouse, airport, or container depot, not unloaded from the collecting vehicle. The seller is responsible for loading the goods onto the collecting vehicle, but the buyer is responsible for all other costs and risks involved in the transport of the goods. CPT, carriage paid to. This term requires the seller to pay the cost of transporting the goods to the named place in the destination country. Although the seller is responsible for arranging carriage, the buyer assumes the risk of loss or damage once the goods are handed over to the carrier. CIP, cost and insurance paid to. This term requires the seller to pay the cost of transport and insurance to the named place in the destination country. The buyer assumes the risk of loss or damage to the goods once they have been delivered to the carrier. DAP, delivered at place. This term requires the seller to deliver the goods to a place specified by the buyer in the country of import. The buyer must arrange for the goods to be unloaded from the delivery vehicle. DPU, delivered at place unloaded. This term is similar to DAP, but the seller is also responsible for unloading the goods at the place of destination. DDP, delivery duty paid. DDP functions similarly to DAP in that it requires the seller to deliver the goods to a place specified by the buyer in the country of import, not unloaded. However, with DDP, the seller is also required to import clear the goods, and this includes paying any duties and VAT or GST. The second category, Incoterms for sea and inland waterway transport, includes the following terms. FAS, free alongside ship. This term requires the seller to place the goods alongside the ship at the port of shipment. The buyer is responsible for all costs and risks involved in the transport of the goods from there to the final destination. FOB, free on board. This term requires the seller to deliver the goods on board the ship at the port of shipment. The buyer is responsible for all costs and risks involved in the transport of the goods from there to the final destination. CFR, cost and freight. This term requires the seller to pay the cost of transport and deliver the goods on board the ship at the port of shipment. The buyer assumes the risk of loss or damage to the goods once they have been delivered to the port of destination. CIP, cost, insurance, and freight. This term requires the seller to pay the cost of transport, insurance, and deliver the goods on board the ship at the port of shipment. The buyer assumes the risk of loss or damage to the goods once they have been delivered to the port of destination. That's all for today's video on the world of Incoterms. We hope you now have a solid understanding of what Incoterms are and how they impact international trade. For more in-depth knowledge, be sure to check out the link in the description to sign up for our online training, where you will learn how to apply Incoterms to international trade and become an expert in the field. If you're new to the world of global trade or interested in starting a successful import business, be sure to download our free 7-step guide on how to start an import business. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more valuable insights into the world of global trade. See you in the next video.